Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're talking about the LMT Estonia rifle. The rifle that you see here is referred to as their reference rifle for their Estonian contract, which is basically the exact rifle you see right here is the exact same thing that the Estonian military got, but it's not selective fire. So this is a very, very interesting rifle. Now, I'm certainly not the first person to talk about this rifle. This rifle has been out a while. The reason why I haven't really done anything with it prior to this was I was hoping to get from LMT some of the parts so I could basically show you the other two models as well, because you had a 14.3 inch version, you had a 12-inch version, and you also had a 308 version. I was hoping to get those parts so I was going to be able to show you guys the entire lineup of the Estonia rifles, but unfortunately I was never able to get any of those parts from LMT. So I figured I would go ahead and do my review of the rifle now. This rifle here is a very interesting rifle. The story behind it's a little bit interesting as well. But we'll talk a little bit about where some of this stuff has come from. One of Lewis Machine Tool's first major military contracts was with the New Zealand Defence Force. Now, the Kiwis were looking for a new rifle, and there were several different manufacturers who were involved with that. And LMT, for the first time, got its major military contract, and was this rifle that you see here. Now, the rifle that you see here, in my opinion, is the ideal military rifle. The Kiwis, in my opinion, did it right. That contract also got LMT to do something that they had not done in the past. LMT, for many years, since probably 2004, had offered the most advanced upper receiver in the market. But they still kept an antiquated mil-spec lower receiver. It wasn't until the Kiwis basically came up with the requirement, they came up with the requirement for ambidextrous features. And now you have the Mars lower receiver, which you have a fully ambidextrous bolt catch, safety, and also magazine release on the other side as well. So this is the first time you had a fully ambidextrous lower receiver. So now Lewis Machine Tool finally made the most advanced upper receiver in the industry with the most advanced lower, giving an incredible rifle. So the Kiwis kept SOP mod stock. LMT had manufactured their own backup sights now, where you have fully adjustable elevation and windage on the rear. And then you have the standard adjustable for elevation on the front. They chose a Trijicon type optic on the top. The Kiwis spared no expense in what they got. The ammunition that the Kiwis also adopted was the Mark 262 ammunition as a general purpose military cartridge. That is extremely expensive ammunition, especially to use as a regular infantry cartridge. So they spared no expense. Now, when you look at the barrel, they went with a 16-inch barrel, which, again, in my opinion, is ideal for military use. And they went with a mid-length gas system. And as you see, we have on here, we have a bayonet lug on here, and there's a Surefire suppressor on here because they use a Surefire sound suppressor. So again, the monolithic upper receiver, chrome lined barrel, cryogenically treated, SOP mod stock. Receiver extension has the dry film lubricant on here, so it doesn't move. You have an enhanced trigger on here, an LMT 2-stage trigger, enhanced trigger guard. So you really have a I don't want to say perfect, but as damn close to it as they come, in my opinion, for having all the best features that you could possibly have on a rifle. So this was LMT's first really, dig into a military issue rifle, not special operations. LMT did special operations, forever. They always provided guns to police, special forces, and so forth. But to do an actual infantry contract for across the board, this was really the first. Now we'll move forward to, I believe, around 2019 is when they won the contract. Now there's a two-year trial period that went with Estonia for this rifle. There was 12 companies that submitted to it. You had HK, SIG, LMT, POF, CZ, Brana, the Polish Grot, just some of the 12 that were tested. Came down to 3 rifles. The final down select came to be the HK 416, the SIG MCX, and this. Well, after all the trials were done, this officially replaced the Estonia rifles. The Estonia rifles that they had used for all those years was a Swedish version of the G3, and they used Israeli Galils, and they had some G36s. So this replaced the first delivery was 16,000 rifles for $25 million. Now, the requirements for the rifle, there was one requirement on here that in my entire career I had never come across. This is an external piston rifle. This is not an internal piston. It was at the request of the Estonian government because they felt that it was a health issue. They felt that utilizing the internal piston, it blew gases into the shooter's face, which would give you lead, barium, heavy metals that were not good. So they believed it was a health concern. So they said, we're going to go with external piston. Now, LMT, I've talked to Carl many times. He prefers the internal piston himself, but when a customer tells you what they want, you give the customer what they want, which is exactly what he did. So he went with an external piston system. Also, they stipulated a 14.3 inch barrel. 14.3 inches. That's rather unique. So they got a 1 7-inch twist, chrome plated, 14.3 inch barrel. Now the gas valve on here, this is not the same gas valve that they've had, LMT's had for all these years. They made a modification to make it a little bit easier to operate with a push button on here. Push button, you rotate it, be able to pull it out, and you're able to pull out your entire gas system. So you have your operating rod, you have your piston at the end, and you have your gas valve on here. Now, this version here, the 14.3 inch rifle, only utilizes one position gas valve. Now, their second model that they had utilized a 12-inch barrel. Now, the 12-inch barrel, on the other hand, had two positions, one for suppressed and unsuppressed. Now, the suppressor that the Estonian government chose was the GSL multi-cal can. Multi-cal meaning it would be used on both the 5.56 and the 7.62 millimeter rifles. Basically, you drop it on, push it on, and there you go. So the way the rifle is gassed out of the factory, the 14.3 with the Estonia ammunition, this rifle will run properly in both suppressed and suppressed with just one gas setting, which is a major benefit to the system. Again, the shorter barrels, you have the option of basically being able to rotate to a suppressed to an unsuppressed setting. So we're going to take a little bit more closer look at some of the details on here. This is referred to as the R20. Or the RAHE. I guess that's how it's said. I'm an Italian American. I'm not Estonian, so I'm not sure exactly how they pronounce that. But the R20. The stock we have in here is the Magpul SLK. So this is the stock that was provided to the Estonian military. They wanted a stock that was more durable than the standard mil-spec one, and one that was not as expensive as the SOP mod. So we have that stock. Receiver extension. Again, you have the same receiver extension that has the dry film lubricant on there, so you have less friction. The end plate that you see on here is for QD. The sling they chose was a Vickers sling, OD sling. And another interesting aspect of this rifle was this is the LMT's new Gen 2 grip. The Estonian contract rifle actually had a little bit of a computer in here, which was a round counter. You were able to get the information off of how many rounds that were fired out of it, whether they were blanks, whether they were live rounds, whether they were fully automatic, whether they were semi. They also keep a record of what maintenance is done. It's an excellent system for tracking the rifle once it leaves the armory and comes back in. So that was something else that they had done. Looking at the trigger guard here, you have the enhanced. You had this particular one is the reference rifle. It's semi-automatic only, but the original ones were fully automatic. 2-stage trigger. Again, Mars lower, ambi features, ambi bolt release, ambi safety. Now looking at the upper receiver. Now this is their standard MLS or M-lock upper receiver, a one-piece upper receiver. This rifle comes with Banta rail protectors. We have a code for that where you can save 20% using BAR20 as your code. You can save 20% on anything on their website, which these are the best rail protectors there are in the industry, the best M-lock ones as well because of the way they deal with the heat. They're the best that are in the industry. So I think we're going to take a little bit of a look at the inside. One more thing I want to talk about is the optics. They chose the Hollow Sun optics on here. This is the HS515GM with a circle dot, and this is a 3-power magnifier. There was also another one that they used that was an aim point, but this was the most common one that you would see. So again, you can basically roll that right out of place, and then you can have your close quarter back up for longer. So I want to take a little bit of a look at the bolt carrier group on here because that's something that's relatively interesting on here. Now, due to the fact this is an external piston, you also do utilize an H2 buffer. Now, the LMT bolt carrier they use, as you see, there's a nickel type proprietary finish on here. Now, there was a couple of different generations of this. The initial ones that came out, they were manganese phosphate. They basically had made some changes on them to make them more durable for fully automatic, and they switched them over to the version that you see here. So the latest ones are all in this nickel plated. Now, one of the changes that was required by the Estonia, which I absolutely love, and I would love to see LMT and anybody go to this, was a captive firing pin retaining pin. So you push that out. And that stays right in position, so you can drop your bolt. You can drop your firing pin right out. And this is very important because this pin is probably one of the most lost parts that you have on this gun. on this weapons platform. And if you lose your firing pin retaining pin, your rifle is now useless. So that's something that people often carry spares of in the field in case they were to lose that. This stops that from ever happening again. I haven't seen LMT switch over to that on their standard carriers yet. Hopefully they will. The bolt's a standard bolt, standard cam pin. But this is one of the interesting aspects is this captive firing pin retaining pin. Now overall, this rifle is absolutely an excellent rifle. If you're looking for an external piston version of this platform, it competed against the very best. It competed against the HK416. I don't know if I don't believe Colt was involved with that, but the Sig 5, the Sig 516, the Sig MCX, it competed with all those, and it was in the end the winner. These have been delivered. Now again, there was 3 different versions of this. You had the R20, both the 12.5 inch and the 14.3 inch. Basically the exact same specifications, but you have a 14.3 versus a 12-inch barrel. And again, everyone came with the adapter, so you were able to use the GSL. So you'd be able to use the GSL can. Now, the last version I want to talk about, again, I was really hoping to have the parts to be able to show you all 3 of the rifles, but it just never worked out, was the R20L. The R20L was a 7.62 version of this rifle. Now, again, LMT, to this point, had only produced their 308s in internal piston. The Estonian put out the requirement for an external piston, so they developed an external piston version just for Estonia. So the R20L is a standard 308 16-inch barrel rifle length gas system, and it utilizes the same muzzle device, utilizes the same sound suppressor, but it uses an external piston. Now, this is also just like any MRP. You drop in the barrel, and you drop in the carrier. Just the parts just drop in. You're not modifying your upper receiver at all. You're just replacing those parts. And from what I understand, the accuracy has not changed all that much at all with the change in the operating system. But one thing about LMT is they give the customer what they want. They don't try to tell them what they want. Estonia was very specific on what they wanted for as far as operating systems, barrel lengths, everything, and that's exactly what they got. So basically, you had the 308, you had the external piston system, you had a rifle length gas system, the ambi lower. You also utilized the Magpul SL stock on that as well, which these stocks passed all the drop testing as well. Initial deliveries was approximately 16,000 rifles, and it was done in 6 different phases over the time period. The rifles have been very, very well received. From every report we've heard, the rifles have been very well received. The people love them. Their capabilities over the Galil and capabilities over the G3 are vastly increased as far as accuracy, reliability, people being able to shoot and hit targets with them. So this literally was LMT's second major military contract that they had done, and it hit the ball out of the park. Now, the only negative aspect of this rifle is the cost. Now, LMT has been gracious enough that with all of their rifles they've had for foreign contracts, they're offering what they refer to as a reference rifle. The L129 they had, which is their first really prestigious contract for the British Army during Global War on Terror, they offered that as the marksman rifle. And when the rifle came out for Estonia, they had the Estonian. When the rifle came out from New Zealand, you had the New Zealand rifle, you had a reference rifle, and now you're still having the Estonia reference rifle. But now's the bad news. For the rifle, MSRP $3,449. So you have an extremely expensive rifle. Those of you who are accustomed to LMT, you're accustomed to higher price tags on there. But the rifle that you're getting is the exact same rifle as the infantry rifle that are being given to the Estonian troops. Right down to the 14.3-inch barrel. Now, the sound suppressors, many people have never heard of GSL before. GSL, the gentleman who owns GSL came from Gemtech. He had done most of the major design work for Gemtech on their sound suppressors. He went to work on his own, opening up GSL. And this particular one is the suppressor that was adopted. Now, LMT at the time was still working on their LMT Technologies Orion sound suppressor, but it wasn't in time for the contract, so they ended up going with this. Now LMT is using their own suppressors for their bids for their contracts. Their new sound suppressors have some. They're the low back pressure. They're reverse flow, so you don't operate the system over pressure nearly as much as you do with a baffle suppressor like this. But it comes with all the same accessories, the same stock, the same sling, the same magazine. The optics are separate. Those were put on me separately, but these are actually the issue optics. So we're going to take a gun to the range. It's not this exact rifle. It's basically the exact same one with a 14.5 inch barrel. We tested them on fully automatic. We tested it on semi. So we have quite a few rounds to them. We're going to go to the range. We're going to see shooting the rifle that's very similar configuration. Well, as you see, again, same rifle, just a different barrel length. These things have worked excellent. They've gone through all military testing, all NATO testing, durability, environmental testing. They are excellent combat rifles. And I expect nothing else from LMT. Many of you who follow me over the years know that when it comes to my favorite, if I was to go buy something off the shelf, what my particular favorite are is the LMT systems. I think LMT is probably the 4th generation version of this rifle. I think he's done the most work to improve it, to take it to the next level. However, I have to say the New Zealand contract rifle, this is my favorite. This to me is an ideal rifle. It has every feature that I would want to put on it the right barrel, the right gas system. The only thing that you have to do with the rifles is when you do get them. LMT is one of the companies that, because of the demand for making these guns work with shit ammo, they open up their gas ports so they will work with wolf ammunition and ammunition that is underpowered. The problem is when you get them to work with that underpowered ammunition, when you put standard 5.56 NATO, the system is overgassed. So basically, I change out the buffers to either an H or an H2, depending on the ammunition, to slow that back down. So there is a modification that I do to all my LMT rifles because I don't use shit ammunition. I only use 5.56 to get it to get it gassed properly. But this to me is the ideal rifle right here. Now, for as far as the Estonian contract rifle, for as far as external piston is concerned, I actually would have no problem with this, carrying this one as well as the service rifle. This one here, Caracal, probably two of my favorite versions of the external piston versions. I got to admit, I've been following the MRP since it was still in development work. I was one of the guys who did some initial beta testing for Carlos on that in 2004 when I was writing my book, Black Rifle 2, Now America's Rifle. So I've been in on it from the beginning. And the first sample rifles I got, it came with both operating systems. I threw the external piston in just for the hell of it to see, yeah, it works, and put it away and never used it again. I never gave it any attention until this Estonian contract, the first time I actually heard about it being used as a military rifle. So after that, I wanted to see just how durable the LMT external piston system was, and that's when this testing came out. I got the barrels, we got the full auto lower receiver, and we fired thousands of rounds on these things, suppressed, unsuppressed, just to see how really good they were. And they were, but it was just something I never gave any attention to until this rifle came out. So for as far as you guys are looking to do some cleaning with these rifles, this rifle here, there's an excellent Otis cleaning kit for you to take a look at because it is external piston. You don't need the bone tool, so the MPSR 5.56 MPSR cleaning kit from Otis is an ideal cleaning kit for this rifle. If you're looking to clean your New Zealand reference rifle, it's the standard 5.56 MSR cleaning kit, which has got every tool you possibly need, including the bone tool. So if you're looking to clean these rifles, those are the best cleaning kits probably in the market for you to be able to do that. We have a code SAS15 where you can save 15% on any of the products on the Otis website, which, again, this is a company who I believe in. I've worked for them for many years. I've even done some development work on some of the cleaning kits myself. And those kits will be linked in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share it. And please consider becoming part of our Patreon family.